Okay. I know it looks like a lot. I can explain everything. Hello YouTube, Al here. Hope you had a nice Christmas and New Year's. I've taken a couple of weeks off because I just had loads of family stuff and, you know, work dues and all that nonsense going on. So, Happy New Year. I'm back in the game. Let's get on with 2020 and some new videos. So, first thing I want to update you on is the Black Strat project. So, if you've been following my channel, you'll be familiar. So the first thing I want to update you on is the Black Strat project. So if you've been watching my channel, you'll be familiar with the Play On Strat, black plywood body Strat I got from a charity shop for 15 quid. Tuners were this style, but they were crap ones. These are Vanson drop-in replacements, which are far nicer. The body is gone. It was made of plywood, it was black, and it was incredibly heavy, and it was rubbish. And I got this one off a fella on Facebook. This is again a black body, but it's made of basswood. You can see there's no layers of plywood. You can see it's actual wood. So this is a hell of a lot nicer. I believe it's an AERC body. He said it's AERC. So it's the same brand as my brown Strat, and somewhat of a known quantity. It's a very nice body. There's no dinks or dents over it, or at least not when I got it. It might have now. But yeah, it's a hell of a lot lighter than the plywood was. Really a lot lighter than the plywood was. And the plan is to fit this neck or another one, whichever fits better, to this body. So yeah, just a rosewood neck. Now I'm thinking for the scratch plate, I had this aversion to black Strats with white pick guards. I think it's because my first proper electric guitar, my first proper guitar was one of those from Argos, and I hated that thing. It played like absolute poo. It was rubbish. So I wanted to bling it up a bit, so I thought, what's blingier than a nice gold, anodised gold pick guard? So I think that with the rosewood neck will be a lot more attractive. These are Roswell pickups. Again, I got them off the old Book of Face. These are, I don't think you can, STACTWHT, meaning white. The number's 1712. And it says ROHS as well on them. So these are inexpensive Alnico pickups. I believe that these are the same, I believe they're made in the same factory as the pickups from my Ibanez semi-hollow, because they've got ROHS written on them as well. But anyway, that plan is to use the anodised gold pickguard on the black body. Now, so that cost me about 45 quid for the body second hand. At that same time, I put a bid on a body on eBay for 26 quid. I wasn't going to win. I really wasn't going to win. It was a nice body that had been stained, and yeah, it stained, finished in Danish oil, and it looked lovely. I wasn't going to win. I won. So it's multiple pieces of wood, but here's a very nice solid wood body finished in Danish oil. You can even see one piece is there. One piece is there. So it's a fair few pieces of wood, but it's quite an attractive body. It does smell a bit odd. It really, this Danish oil does smell a bit like an old house, a bit bizarre. But it looks absolutely lovely. So yeah, I was left with this spare body. So I had to get a neck for it somewhere. Back we go on Facebook to the fella I got the body from. Don't suppose you got any necks lying about. And he had this rosewood neck, Johnson branded. Never heard of them, but apparently they were a brand that existed at some point. inexpensive Strat copy, and it fits in this body fairly nicely. Actually, no. I got mixed up. It's the play-on Strat neck that fits near perfectly. Yes, it fits near perfectly on this body. So the Johnson neck, which is pretty bloody similar, I'll be honest. Bit of tear out by the nut, otherwise in nice condition. Bit of tear out there. This came with the same sort of tuners as the play-on Strat. You can tell by the hole pattern. But these have been widened. These holes have clearly been widened. Because those tuners, if you'll see, are the small bore. And these are large holes. So there's tear out on the front of these holes, which is a bit unusual. And that's clearly because someone's tried to fit other tuners at some point. And they didn't put painter's tape on the front, so it's just torn the wood out of the hole a bit. It's fine, when I put bushings over it, you won't even notice, you won't even see. But it's just a bit of a shame, really. Now I come to think of it, I think I got some Wilkinson tuners I could use on this. I'm going to draw already. Because I took them off the Ratacaster and put some Vansons on, or vice versa. They're pretty much the same, I'll be honest. The tuners are damn near identical, apart from the W on the back. But anyway, this will be used on one body. I believe this fits slightly better on the black body, as in ridiculously, like almost as if made to be. The screw holes don't line up, which breaks my heart. But were it not for that, I'd be able to screw it together and just have it together in a weekend. So we've got that. I've got the play-on Strat, of course. Oh, for the electronics, I was thinking I have this guard knocking about, a mint green guard. I'm really sad, and I put a little scratch, a snip there on the scratch plate, because that's what happens to old 60s Fender guards when they kind of shrink. So yeah, I've done that for the look of it, sheerly for the sheer hell of it, really. It already had a hole where someone's put a mini switch in this, because again I got this second hand, and I didn't like there being a hole, so I got a shielding plate, aluminium shielding plate, which again just supports the back, stops any crap getting through and getting into the pots, no dust or anything. These are Wilkinson pickups, the WVS whatchamacallums. This came out of a Thomas Blug Strat. How do I know that? They're relict covers that have had the crap kicked out of them at some point. So that's why it looks relict. And I was thinking I could go with a nice classy guard on this. I could go with a gold guard. That would look really nice on this. But something in me just said, nah, let's make it look like it's been trashed and then rescued, rather than something that's really nice, because then when it gets a ding in it, it will look like something really nice that's got a ding in it, as opposed to something rescued that's had a life but it's still hanging on. So I'm thinking that will be, it will look like a stripped old Strat if I put this mint guard on. So I think that will be quite a cool look, like someone's stripped an old Strat. Because in the 70s, loads of people were stripping 50s and 60s Strats and doing natural finishes on them. So it's a bit of an extension of that in my mind. So that's the plan. I've got some Wilkinson bridges to go on these. Perfectly nice bridges. So that's the plan for the project anyway. And one more thing happened. I got a new guitar. Oops. So this also happened. It's a vintage V6. I've been looking at these for years, absolute years. I've been aware of vintage guitars for about probably closing in on 10 years now. I remember being in the sixth form, I think it was about 16, 17, looking at the gear, whatever it's called, catalogues. I think it literally is called gear, and it's got JHS products in there, looking at the Les Paul and the SG types and all that. and I've heard great things about these. So I saw this second hand advertised as mint condition. That will become apparent in a second. For 95 quid. And they're 339 new. So I snapped his hand off. The guy insisted that the shipping would be perfectly fine, so I paid 15 quid for shipping. This is where it all goes a little bit pear-shaped. So when it arrived, it had a neck crack. I'm going to see if I can get an angle where you can see. Probably won't be able to because of the light. Let me have a look. Come on. There. So as you can see, there's a crack from the corner there that runs all the way down there, and it is a crack in the wood. I can see a slightly raised on the top half, as it were. So that wasn't fun. So obviously I was gutted when I found out it wasn't mint condition. Again, we'll come to that in a second. So I messaged the guy and he was very apologetic. And he sent me some money back, so I got 25 quid back. So really it's cost me 70 quid, which for a project is fine. But these go for about 200 quid at the time of recording in excellent condition, second hand. So that's really kind of the going rate. And I was thinking, well, if we get it for 95, and sell it for 200, and Bob's your uncle, everyone's happy. However, as it's got a neck crack, that's really knocked probably about half the value off it. Because would you buy one second hand that had a neck crack, or would you buy one second hand that doesn't have a neck crack? I mean, given the choice, you'd pick the one without a crack, obviously. So annoyingly, this is going to be more a player. It's not going to be one that I can flip and make a profit on. That being said, it's incredibly interesting that I'll be able to compare this to my Strat projects that I have. So the other cheap Strats that I've upgraded with very similar, or if not the same parts in some respects. Strats that I've got cobbled together from different parts. So yeah, the Warman kit, when I get that back, which should be very soon now, hopefully. So I will be able to do a massive comparison. And oh yeah, I have actually modded this already. What I put 10 to 52 strings on as opposed to 10 to 46 it came with. 10 to 52 is just what I prefer, a little bit more tension on the low strings. And while I was in there, I changed the capacitor from one of the horrible green ones to an orange one. And as these are 500k pots, which is really what you'd expect with humbuckers rather than single coils, the higher the value, the more high end they let through. Humbuckers are darker pickups, so they tend to come with 500k because they're brighter pots, they let more treble through. Single coils normally, traditionally, come with 250k because it's a bit dark and it kind of just nips off the very high end. So as these are 500k, I decided to put a 0.22 cap in just because that's what comes with humbuckers. And it just seemed like an appropriate thing to do. Probably won't make a lot of difference. I don't know what was in there. I think it might have been a 2.2 because the code had 2.2 on there. It didn't have 4.7 on there. But anyway, I will have to get this sorted out at some point. The electronics work absolutely fine. The pickups sound really nice. I've lowered them, especially because they sounded a bit too fizzy and high-endy, and if you move them lower then you get more bass end out of it, and it's kind of more juicy, as I like to say, especially in the neck pickup. One thing I need to say, it's not mint condition. The bridge was raised when I got it. It was like up like that, just like the PRS Custom 24 my SE is when I got that, so I knew that the nut had probably been overcut. And if I can get it close enough to the camera, this box, you should be able to see that the nut is cut like absolute botty. It's kind of like the Nile, sort of like a V like that before it goes into the actual nut slot. So someone's gone through it like that with a nuts file, but they've got a bit too far that way and that way in the back end of it, and it's a bit rough, and I believe it's over filed. At the moment, the neck angle is wrong, and if you look at the very end of the fretboard with the string, you should be able to see that actually it tips up ever so slightly. And I've had to do that to adjust the neck angle as best I can by putting a shim in. And that's the best I can do because the neck is as straight as it can go. I mean, I can't have any more on this. And the action was getting higher as I go up. So really I need more scope to adjust the truss rod, and that means I have to bring the angle of the neck up a bit to bring the strings lower, so I can then slacken off the truss rod, if that makes sense. So it's given me the maximum amount of wiggle room. Yeah, but the nut will need to be looked at, I think, replaced, because it's just a bit of a butchered job really. And at the same time I'll have the crack filled in with wood glue. I put a little bit of wood glue in there. I couldn't really get it to penetrate very deeply. I don't believe this is unstable in any way. The hardware on it's really nice, but yeah, it'll take a little bit of work to get this up and running. Annoyingly, I was really hoping that I'd get it playing straight out of the box, but what do you know? You know, life's what happens while you're making other plans. You know, I think a famous wife beater said that. So that's the update on what's been going on over Christmas. Yep, I've got some plans in the works for getting these projects up and running, hopefully. Thank you very much for watching. I'll show you as I go by this bit by bit by bit. I've got loads of pedals to review. Let me just pick out a couple. Tremolo there. Let's have a look. Distortion there. Just pick them out randomly. I've done the Green Mile. Got a nice boost pedal there. Don't think I've done this one yet. Yeah, trust me, I've got loads of pedal reviews coming. Loads of updates on projects, so keep tuned for all that. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Al. So thank you very much for watching. My name's Al Cooper. Like, subscribe, all that nonsense. It really does help. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. So until then, bye-bye and Happy New Year.